All rise. The 17th Judicial Circuit Court in and for Broward County is now in session. The Honorable Chief Judge Jack Tudor presiding. Please be seated and give your full attention to the court. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Tobin Singer. I'm a circuit court judge in the 17th Judicial Circuit. Today is International Women's Day, which is a celebration of the economic, cultural, political, and social achievements of women for more than 100 years. The day is not only a celebration, but a call for action for everyone to continue to push for complete gender equality. I want to thank all of you for coming here this morning. We all have such busy schedules, and by making the time to be here, you show that you recognize and appreciate the milestones created by our honorees. I also want to thank Judge Tudor, the Broward Bar, the Broward Women's Bar, for your support of this event. Thank you also to Braulio Rosa, whose idea it was to have this event, as well as to the committee who planned and made this event possible. Robin Moselle, Christina Len, Beth Fetter, Linda Conahan, Lauren Riegler, and Kathleen Pugh. A special thanks to Craig Berger and Patrick Welsh for the hours and hours they spent producing and editing the professional quality videos which you will see in this program. Last but not least, we are so fortunate to have with us this morning as our MC, Lori Parrish, a stronger advocate for women's rights you will not find. I personally owe a debt of gratitude to the honorees here today. I follow behind their footsteps. They cleared the path not only for me to go to law school, but they paved the way for me to fulfill one of my wildest dreams, to become a judge. When I ran for judge in 2006, it was an advantage to be a woman. The public was clamoring to vote for women for judges. In fact, one of my opponents started asking crowds not to hold it against him that he was a man. This public sentiment favoring women only came about because people saw the great work being done by women like our honorees. The honorees here today faced obstacles that women today will no longer have to face. Women no longer have to answer questions like, why should you take a spot in this law school or this law firm that could be taken by a man? In his 1841 essay, Self-Reliance, Emerson famously admonished, "Don't go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail." The women we are honoring today have done just that. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to our brave and persevering trailblazers. And now, Judge Marina Garcia Wood. Where is she? To do the invocation. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Today's such an exciting day, and it's my pleasure to be here and to give this invocation. Dear Lord, as we celebrate International Women's Day, this morning as I was getting prepared, I was reminded of my late mother, who was a woman of faith, a woman of courage, a woman of strength, and a woman of love. Let's celebrate today these honorees, these women who have paved the way for younger women. God of hope, we pray for women and girls today, that they will be all they can be. Give us courage to speak and work for equality and justice until earth is filled with kindness and love. Mother Teresa said, "Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier." Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile. We thank you for making this day a special day of recognition for all women, and bless those that have worked hard to make this day a success. Thank you, Lord, for the freedom we have in our lives and the beautiful country we live in. Amen.
And now we are very fortunate, one of our newer judges happens to have a beautiful voice, and so we are asking Judge Gina Hawkins to please lead us in the national anthem.
Good morning. Such an honor to be here. Thank you for the invite, and thank you for putting on such a beautiful program. This is a time for the woman. I'm glad you're all standing. I'm going to step back just a little bit because my voice is waking up and it can be pretty powerful for this moment. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We need you to come up here and sing America the Beautiful now. Thank you so much. Yes, she has. Okay. Thank you so much. Amazing. And now to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, our wonderful clerk of the court, Brenda Foreman.
Good morning, everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a few words from the brainchild of this event, the head of the Broward Bar, Braulio Rosa. Let's go.
I will be brief because it's really about women and not some bald guy. So I just want to say that this kind of all evolved starting probably 4 or 5 years ago. Someone out there, Julie Huff, and I went. She was the past president of the Broward County Women Lawyers Association, and I said, you know, we need to get together and do something on women and leadership, and why don't we partner? And so she said, hey, let's go do breakfast. And I said, great, pancakes. I love pancakes. So from that, slowly but surely, we've ended here where we can recognize strong, intelligent, and accomplished women. So I'm proud to be part of this, surrounded with amazing people that have really brought this to fruition. So I appreciate everyone that's helped do this. With that said, this costs a little money to do. So let me just recognize our sponsors, and yeah, I'm over 50 years old now, so I need my cheaters to read. I'd like to thank our benefactor, Gunster, for supporting us, and our patrons, Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney, Nelson, Mullins, Broad, and Casal, and our sponsors, Beerbaum, Lipman, and Gregoire, Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Cole, and Bierman, and Fisk and Company. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Fetter. I am one of the co-chairs, the BCBA Women Leaders in the Law, as well as the immediate past president of the Broward County Women Lawyers Association. So I think I have the longest title for today. I have to tell you, I'm amazed in this room. I was enlightened this morning just to stand with some of our honorees and hear them sharing their stories. This is, I think, exactly what we envisioned, that it would be the pioneers bringing us together. I mean, I grew up in the 70s in a small town in New Jersey, and I never dreamed to be part of something like this. I was lucky enough to have a mother who never discouraged me from doing anything, in fact, encouraged me, and still cries every day that I'm a lawyer. She's so happy. And I just want to say what an honor it has been to be a co-chair, to work with the people that I've worked with. And this has been our baby for almost a year now, and to see it come to fruition has just been amazing. I was looking at statistics, and I was going to share them, but we have some on the slides, that show you there's more women entering law school now than men. One of the honorees told me there's also more women in medical school now than men. And we have 43 female judges in this circuit. And I think that's just an amazing testament. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank our honorees. You all are just amazing women, and I'm awed to be in the room with you. So thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Pugh. I'm the trial court administrator here in the 17th Circuit. As you can see, I have a little case of laryngitis, so you get the abbreviated version of my speech. Happy International Women's Day. It's a wonderful day, and I'm so happy that we're all here celebrating the Broward Women's Pioneers. It's been wonderful to be a part of the committee working with Braulio and the Bar Association. I got to sit in and watch some of the unedited videos, and what a remarkable group of women we're honoring here today. I just want to also shout out to my staff, Craig Berger, Patrick Welsh, and also Meredith Bish, who did some of the interviewers. She was the interviewer for the honorees. Like I said, we are honoring a remarkable group of women today, and having been part of this program in the making, I got the message from them to always believe in yourself, to never give up. This morning I just read a great quote from Audrey Hepburn. It says, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible." Enjoy the program.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Lim. I'm the co-chair of the committee, the Women in Leadership Committee, who planned this event. I'm so happy to see every one of you here, and the honorees as well. Thank you so much for coming. I'm here to introduce our MC today, Lori Parrish, who has a long-standing history of dedication to the Broward County local community, where she has lived for over 60 years. Lori was elected to the Broward County School Board in 1984, and in 1988 to the Broward County Commission, where she championed such causes as environmental protection, rights of domestic violence victims, as well as improved health services. Dedicated to the equal treatment of each citizen, Lori has won praise for her efforts to promote women and minorities, and she has been inducted into the Broward County Women's Hall of Fame. Lori left the commission and ran for Broward County Property Appraiser in 2004, which she won and became the first woman property appraiser in Broward County. She was re-elected in 2008 and again in 2012. Since then, and when everyone else was retiring and downsizing, Lori was upsizing to make room for her 8,000 orchids that take up a lot of her time when she's not, as she calls it, dabbling in politics. Lori continues to mentor women, and that's one of the reasons she's here today to MC this event. Please join me in welcoming Lori Parrish.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here to represent the older generation of women, but I can remember when I was the youngest. But I want to thank Michelle and Christine for inviting me. And congratulations to all the women that are being honored today. They're real trailblazers. One woman who's not being honored but is my best friend, and I collect orchid withers, is the first female lawyer ever elected to the Broward County Commission, and that's Eileen Lieberman. You know, times have changed. I read, Robin wrote an article in the Broward Barrister, and if you haven't read it, you need to. But I looked, when I graduated from high school at MacArthur High School in Hollywood in 1966, there were only 175 female lawyers in the entire state of Florida. And I looked at, hey Gina, and I looked at a picture that I think was posted on the Broward Bar's Facebook picture, and the 14 new judges, of those, and I counted them, 10 are women and 4 are men. So it's our turn, ladies. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce the first honoree today, who was the first municipal judge in Broward County. I've been a big fan of hers forever, and I hope I pronounce her name correctly. But I'd like to introduce the Honorable Elizabeth Athanasakis, who will be given her award and presented by Judge Tarlika Navarro. Ladies.
It's different today than it was before. I passed the bar in 1956 in Florida, and no, 1957, excuse me, 1956 in New York, 1957 in Florida, and opened my office on March 1st, 1958. I learned from everybody who was around me, because when you get out of law school, or at least at that time, you didn't have all of the things that go on in law schools today. You came out, yes, you knew the law, you could pass the bar, but beyond that, in actual experience, you really didn't know very much. So when I first moved to Florida in 1957, I got to know a few people. I didn't know anybody here. I had a cousin, a second cousin, a couple of them that lived here, and but I didn't know people so that I could go out and say, well, I'm here, you can come. So I had to go out and meet a lot of people, and I did. I met some wonderful people down here. Well, the first one was by President Nixon in 1969. After he got elected, he formed a committee on women's rights and responsibilities, and the chairman of that particular group was the past national president of the Business and Professional Women's Club. And I was asked to be on it, and it was absolutely great. It was the first presidential group that supported the Equal Rights Amendment. We supported Title IX, that was in 1969. And we had a lot of very interesting meetings. It was a very diversified group. We had a lot of fun, but we got a lot of work done. And the report that came out was called A Matter of Simple Justice. And then later I was appointed. I had other appointments in between. President Ford appointed me to the Committee on Observing the International Women's Year, the U.S. Commission on the Observance of International Women's Year in 1975. We might have been appointed in 74 to serve until 1975, but I was not chairing it at that time. But when we were to give the report, the one who was chairperson not want to continue. What happened was that Bella Abzug, who was a member of the House of Representatives, introduced a bill which was passed to continue the commission beyond that to 1978, I think, 1977, 1978. gave us $5 million to have a meeting in every state and every U.S. territory, which made 56 meetings, plus a national meeting, which was held in Houston in 1977. And we returned $2 million of that, if you can imagine. We had every single meeting. It was a very interesting, if you were around at that time and attended any one of them, they were really very interesting. We worked on getting the commission for women here in the county, and we worked very hard on it. I was appointed first in Wilton Manors by the mayor there, and I served from 1964 to 74, and about 2 years later I was appointed by the mayor of Oakland Park, and I did that. We had a lot more criminal cases there because of Kmart, and what can I tell you? And we had a lot more there. It was very interesting. I thought it was a wonderful experience for an attorney to do that, because you could still practice law, and most of these would take care in the afternoon or the evening, which made it convenient for the people who were attending. And it was less expensive for the city. But then in 1974 they passed, I don't know whether they called it Title V or some bill that was called 5, and they did away with the municipal courts, and they put in the county court. And the county court then took over all the traffic and misdemeanors. But later on, Governor Claude Kirk really did appoint me to the bench and gave me the option, and I didn't take it because at that time I was busy with the committees in Washington, and I was really having a great time, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I said, well, do I do that or do I sit in court? And I decided not to take the judgeship. Am I still active? Yes. I'm president of the Zonda Club of Greater Deerfield Beach right now. I've served in national offices like the Daughters of Penelope. You're going to say, well, what's that? That's an international women's organization of women of Greek background, or Philhellenes. I have been president of the Business and Professional Women's Clubs, state president, and club president, state president, and national president.
Good morning. What an honor it is to be here and to be introducing Judge Elizabeth Athanasakis. What the video did not show you, to put things into perspective for you, she was one of 2 women at her law school when she was in law school. She was one of 6 practicing women lawyers here in Broward County when she was appointed as the first municipal judge. She is a true trailblazer here in Broward County. She devoted her entire life to public service and to advancing the rights of women so that we can all be here today, so that I am able to be a judge with many of my colleagues here today, and so that we can prosper and grow. And I truly thank you. I am honored to be able to announce you and to give you this award. Please rise as we recognize Broward County's first municipal female judge. On behalf of the 17th Judicial Circuit, the Broward County Bar Association, and the Broward County Women Lawyers Association, we are honored to offer this to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And what she didn't tell you is she went to the same high school as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which is pretty impressive.
Yes, and to the same law school as Mario Cuomo. We were in the same class, and I'm glad to see Jesse Diner here. We represent St. John's University School of Law. I thank you very much for this honor and for the introduction and to everybody involved. And you know, it's kind of strange to be up here because I'm getting an award for something I enjoy doing, and I still enjoy doing. And I wish you were all there. There are so many women who are not able to be here because they're no longer with us, who are real trailblazers. We had the first woman solicitor. Don't get that wrong now. It's called state attorney today. They didn't want to solicit anymore. Anyway, I say to everybody, and I say to everybody, the judges, be yourself. Do the best you can. Never lose your sense of humor, because if you do, you're out of it. I'm glad to be able to be here. At least I lasted longer than some of the others. I have met so many of you. I met Judge May before she even went to law school, so you've not been around for a while. But it's so nice to see you being appointed and going along. And I said, Diane Weaver, I said, I haven't seen you for 40 years. We worked together on an ERA fundraiser with Gene Stapleton that was here in Fort Lauderdale, and we had a great time. But you don't think about the old days. Okay, opened an office in 1958. No computers, no electric typewriters, no electric elevators. You had to have no self-serving elevators. You had to have somebody take you up to whatever floor you were going on. No copy machines, a lot of thin paper to make copies, no whiteout, lots of erasers. No answering machines. You had to hire a service to answer your phone and give you your messages. So remember all of that. Have we come a long way? We sure have. I'm still learning the computer. I type like this on the computer, but it gets done. I'm very good at emails, but I don't text. But I want to thank each of you for getting up early and being here. I'm not a morning person, but I made it. And I hope to be able to see you for a long time in the future. I congratulate all of the women who are judges, and I think it's just wonderful. I said, well, maybe I should have accepted it way back. I don't know. Title IX did the most. Title IX did the most for women in the educational field, in the law field. That's when the schools opened up for women to attend law school. Because before that, men had all of the advantages. They would take a man over a woman because he was the breadwinner. You remember that thinking? It's still around a little bit. And women were not admitted into the law schools, not admitted into colleges. And I listened to a young woman on our committee yelling at discussing with a president of a university saying that it's going to make the men better students. Maybe the first year or two, they're not going to do too well because the women are really working hard and they will get admitted. But they'll have to study more and be better people in order to get into school. She was right. It worked. And here we are. I thank you. I congratulate each of you, and thank you for getting up and being here.
What Elizabeth didn't tell you is she's the first female pilot I ever knew, and she could fly herself to all those places. Now I'd like to introduce somebody that probably has known me the longest of any of you in the room. I have respected her and admired her long before she was ever a lawyer or a judge. But the next honoree is the first woman chief judge of Broward County Court. She was a riot. She was smart. She could understand issues and had the quick wit to explain them quickly to politicians who wouldn't listen. But I worked for Miette and Larry's parents in their dime store in Dania Beach a long time ago. Anyway, I'm so proud of Miette being honored today. Many of the members of her family are here with her. I'm sure she'll introduce them. In order to give her her award, I'd like to introduce another, not only her husband, but they raised a lawyer, Mitchell Bernstein, to present the award to his mom. But first, we're going to watch a video about one of my favorite people, Miette Bernstein.
I came directly to Florida from Hungary when I was 2. I had uncles who lived in South Florida. So they sort of semi-sponsored us because I came over in 1939. I was the first female circuit judge, the first female chief judge, the first female chair of the entire conference, circuit judge conference. So I broke a lot of glass ceilings. Yeah. There is no woman, I don't believe, in this earth who has not had, I should say, no woman in a professional capacity who has not had her share of, quote, incidences, close quote, who has not had to field comments, snide and otherwise, sometimes sexual. A lot of issues occur to us females who break glass ceilings. Not just lawyers, women engineers, women entrepreneurs, every woman who has ever held her place in a, quote, man's world, close quote. You have to learn how to field these incidences. I first started out, my father, who was, by the way, a male chauvinist, said to me once when I was getting ready to go to law school, he said, "Don't let anyone talk you out of this. Every woman needs to have a bread in her hands." And I took that to mean, and I think he meant it this way, you have to learn to support yourself. You have to learn to take care of yourself. You can't lean on a man. And that was a very important lesson to me at the beginning. My husband, of course, has always been very supportive. That's been very helpful. And even Judge Ferris, I don't know whether you all remember Judge Ferris, but he was a chief judge 2 before me, and he was very helpful. He would lead me through things, and he would say, well, so-and-so is going to say this, you know, don't let it get to you. And he was just a wonderful mentor. The funniest experience was when I first went on the bench. They had a robing ceremony. They had a lovely robing ceremony. And my husband was the one who slipped the robe over my shoulders. And as he did so, he said, "It's nice to be kissing the other end for a change." Some of the experiences that I had to plow through. For example, I wanted to be on the bench for a long time. But every time I applied to the all-male commission, I never got out of committee. And finally, one day I said to the chair of the committee, I said, "Am I ever going to get out of the committee? Are you telling me now that this is the 4th time I've been passed over? Are you telling me now that I just better give it up?" And he said, "Oh, you'll get your turn, you'll get your turn." At which point I turned around and I said to my husband, "I'm going to run for this. I'll never get out of this committee. I've got to run." And that's how I got on the bench. A lot of times women have the tendency to be intimidated, and I think that's a big mistake. I'm not saying go out and get ready to punch the next guy who asks you a question or makes a comment, but I think you have to get a seat at the table. You know, there comes a time when you have to stand up and say, "I'm sorry, I won't do it." When I was first interviewed for a position, a law position, right out of law school, they asked me if I could type. I can't type, and I don't want to learn how to type. Of course, that was long before computers, when everyone has to type. But I was so insulted, I was so angry that they would never ask, at that time, they would never have asked a man if they could type. I came home one day from shopping experience. I was already on the bench. And I had bought myself a very expensive blouse, name brand blouse. And I went to hang it in the closet. My daughter said, "Oh, what is it like to have name brand this?" And I turned to her without thinking, obviously without thinking, and I said, "Oh, Carrie, you're going to have to marry a very rich man." And she looked at me and she said, "Why, Mommy? Why can't I earn it myself?" And I was so ashamed that male chauvinism pops through at unexpected times, ingrained, almost embedded in your childhood. You've got to tear yourself away from that.
I am particularly proud to introduce the next honoree. I've known her for 54 years. In 1976, the legal community viewed the role of women much differently than it does today. So when a 39-year-old Jewish Hungarian immigrant woman had the audacity to campaign for an open seat on the circuit bench and opposed two better-known male attorneys, both municipal judges, one of whom was a multi-generational Fort Lauderdale native, the legal community took notice. Her election victory that year over two men to become the first female circuit judge in Broward County wasn't simply a first. It was a door-opening revolution. Many achievements followed. Broward County's first female chief judge and the first female chair of Florida's Conference of Circuit Judges, among many other accomplishments. My wife Jennifer and I have been blessed with three strong women, three strong daughters, and for those of you who know them, they're very strong women. 4 of the honorees' 5 grandchildren are women. I'm thankful that they don't have to look far for a role model to help guide them as they pave their own paths. Dad, you too. On behalf of the 17th Judicial Circuit, the Broward County Bar Association, and the Broward County Women Lawyers Association, it is my pleasure to present this award to the Honorable Miette Bernstein. Come on up. Pretty cool. This is beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I must have done something right. When I was first elected to the bench, I had a friend, Judge Kokalis, who many of you may remember. Oh, yes. And she came over one day and we were chatting, and she turned to Mitchell and she said, "Mitchell, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And Mitchell looked at me and said, "Mom, can boys be judges?" In any event, it's an honor to have such a wonderful presenter, and it's an especially big honor for me to have my colleagues, my friends with whom I've spent so much of my career, and people that I've known for years and years through courthouse activities. And I do appreciate and respect the honor that you've given me. Thank you.
Thank you. And using her maiden name, Miette managed to trailblaze so that her baby brother could get elected to the bench. And he's here today, Judge Larry Korda and his wife Gina. And I think their 2 daughters are here, but I haven't seen them in so long, I'm not sure if that's them. Next, our honoree is a special lady. She is like Miette in that she's not shy or quiet. She has an opinion, and she's also, for many years, was an advocate. She's someone to be respected. And the first woman judge to preside over Broward County's drug court, the first woman to chair the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, and the first president of the Stephen R. Brewer Inn of Court is the Honorable Judge Melanie May, and her award will be presented by one of my favorite younger judges, Judge Michelle Tobin Singer. First, we'd like to show you a video to introduce her.
So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I wrongly figured out when I was in high school that they had already discovered everything that was important, so there was nothing left to be done. So I really went to college without much direction, and somewhere in my, I think maybe my second year of junior college, I decided that I liked business subjects. So I went to school and became a business teacher. And in the course of taking the classes for that, I took business law, and I fell in love. And that's pretty much how I ended up turning to law as a profession. So I think it's really hard to say that there was any one person, because so many people contributed to my success in this profession. But if I had to select one, I would start with Judge Peter Fay on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. I had the good fortune to clerk for him after after I graduated from law school, and he really demonstrated everything that is good and right about being a member of the judiciary, and so I strive every day to try and emulate him. Well, I think some of the most outrageous things happened to me probably when I was on the bench in the felony drug court division, but that was not early on in my career. Early on in my career, I was at a deposition with two other male lawyers. One was opposing counsel and one was defending another defendant in the case. And I made an objection to a question asked by opposing counsel, and he began to laugh and told me he thought it was the most ridiculous objection that he had ever heard. And of course, as a young lawyer, I was mortified. And the male lawyer, who was also defending another defendant in the case, joined in the objection. I think one, to kind of counteract the circumstance of the opposing counsel, and also to make me feel a little bit better. And several years later, I would hear Judge K.L. Lee say, "Never call another lawyer's statement ridiculous, even if it is." Okay, so my horoscope sign tells everyone that I worry a lot, and I certainly worried as a young lawyer about how to practice and whether I would be successful. But I think if I could tell myself back then, I would say, don't worry. You know, with hard work, perseverance, dedication, you really can be successful. Well, I think I've been very fortunate to be assigned to divisions where you really feel like you make a difference. Whether you do or not, I guess, remains to be seen. But both in the juvenile delinquency division and also in the felony drug court, they were very rewarding assignments. Didn't know anything about either one of them when I went in, but came out feeling like I had contributed to make a difference. And I still sometimes get letters from some of the juveniles that I had way back in the 90s who are now adults, and some are doing well and some are not, but they stay in touch. Well, I was really surprised when Judge Tobin Singer called me and suggested that there was a program and that I was being included in it. I came here last year when Judge Taylor was recognized for being the first African-American woman judge on the circuit court. She and I and Judge Howard Zeidwerk had our investiture together. So we all go back to 1991 when we all came on the bench. So I'm very honored to be in the second group of people that are being recognized. I'd just like to thank the Broward County Bar for taking the initiative to recognize, not myself, but so many of the other people who deserve recognition for their accomplishments in our profession.
Judge May, you may have been in the second group, but you're the first in our hearts. And when we were thinking about who we would honor, of course we were going to honor you, Judge May. You are such a wonderful leader in Broward County and nationwide. Her list of accomplishments are too many for me to list here. I only have 1 minute to speak. But you can read some of them in the program. You can also, probably most of us here, all of us here, know about all the things that she's done in the community and in the nation. Some things you may not know. She can pick locks. You can ask her about that. Yes. I know, you're not going to tell me anything anymore, right? I think of Melanie May as the ultimate Renaissance person. She started her varied career in one of the most noble, underappreciated fields, as a teacher. I did not know her then, yet I am certain she was an excellent teacher. You see, Judge May is very consistent. Whatever she does, she stops at nothing less than excellence. You will see certain things in all of her work: preparation, thoroughness, logic,
creativity, sensitivity, thoughtfulness, and brilliance. She is being honored here today for many firsts, but the one that's the dearest to my heart is she was the first woman to be a drug court judge. And she made Broward County's drug court one of the largest, most successful drug courts in the nation. Even after Judge May was appointed to the 4th District Court of Appeals, she continued her leadership role in improving not only Broward County's drug court, but improving all of Florida's drug courts. Judge May led the way for the Florida Supreme Court to adopt best practices for drug courts, and she is the head of the Supreme Court committee that is working on a certification process that will make sure that all of our drug courts are the best that they can be. It is my extreme honor to be able to present to you Judge Melanie May.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Judge Tobin Singer, for all your kind words, and for the Broward County Bar Association, the Broward County Women Lawyers Association, and the 17th Circuit for having this wonderful event today and for including me in it. I also want to thank Lori Parrish, who's been the first woman to do so many things in Broward County. The list is probably endless. Thank you for emceeing.
I think it's a big mountain.
Okay, I'll take that. And the lock picking came as a result of my recent purchase of a Samsonite piece of luggage that I decided to lock for the first time without knowing how to get it open. And Samsonite was fortunate, nice enough to send me instructions on how to pick the lock. So if you have a piece of Samsonite luggage, I can fix it for you. One of my small side jobs. And anyway, I also like to congratulate all of our honorees today, all of whom I have admired, some nearer and some far, and watched their careers, and I'm so honored to be among you. You truly are trailblazers and role models for so many people that will come after us, so congratulations to all of you. I am from Florida. I've been in Fort Lauderdale since I was 10 months old, so I'm pretty much homegrown, and I don't think I ever really appreciated the opportunity that you get being a public servant to try and do some good and make a difference. And once I became a judge, I realized that opportunity, and I tried to seize upon it in what I've done. And many years ago, Judge Mark Spicer approached me in the Galleria Mall and asked me if I wanted to transfer from delinquency to drug court, and I said, no, thank you. And then, of course, I went to court the next morning, and my bailiff told me we were being transferred to drug court. Anyone, the judge or anyone in the courthouse knows the bailiff always knows. And so, but for that, kind of like my idea about being an archaeologist and then deciding everything had been found, I had the wrong answer the first time I was asked, but I was so humbled and honored to be able to serve in that division, and I'm so proud of what Judge Tobin Singer is doing with it. It's remarkable, the work that she's doing. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Judge Robert Fogan, without whose passion and insight we wouldn't have a drug court. And so I think all of us here today, and anyone that's certainly serving in public service, hopes that you do something that makes things better for other people. And if I can get this quote right from Ralph Waldo Emerson, is to make someone breathe easier is truly a success. So thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Thanks, Judge May. The next person I first met in an organization called NOW, and the Gwen Cherry Women's Political Caucus. And she reminded me of a lot of young women, because back then when Mitchell was talking about Miette, and not only was she a woman, she was Jewish. My husband couldn't get out of committee because he was Jewish. And so I said to Ginger what I said to Jeff, run for it. Anyway, she was like the Energizer Bunny. I don't know what, until today, somebody winds her up in the morning and then has to unwind her at night. But our next honoree is the Honorable Ginger Lerner Wren, who's a dear friend. We'll watch a video about her, and then Juliet Lippman, the president of Florida Bar Foundation, will present Judge Wren with the award for being the first judge to preside over mental health court.
You know, I grew up during the Kennedy era, and I was really influenced and always wanted to go into public service. I thought that public service was a truly noble profession and that I could really make a difference in the world. And then I saw an opening in the 17th Judicial Circuit. We had at the time a program that was overseen by the probate courts, and it was called the Office of Public Guardian. And I applied for that position, and I really absolutely thrived. I thought it was extremely unusual that every single family that came in said exactly the same thing to me. They said, you know, we were sent here because we were told that you could find help for my you know, parent or relative, and I just couldn't. And I made, at that time, I really made a silent, if you will, promise to myself that if I could ever help these families, I would. I did have a chance to fulfill that promise. I was really fortunate. I was giving a speech one day at a legislative forum, and former Circuit Judge Marcia Beach, who at the time was serving as the executive director for Florida's Advocacy Center for Persons with Disabilities, saw me speak, and a position came open on a federal class action that she was leading down in Pembroke Pines at our regional state hospital, and she asked me if I would come on board and serve as a plaintiff's monitor in the federal class action of Sanborn versus Childs. You know, serendipity in my career has been very prominent, and when I ran for judge, there was no mental health court. Our circuit was experiencing significant problems in terms of jail overcrowding and really not being able to respond to the needs of people with mental illnesses that were coming into our local criminal justice system. And there was a consensus that we needed a specialized mental health court, and it's through that mental health court as a judge that I have been privileged to be able to do some really, I think, terrific work along with our community. Moving the justice system forward to be able to solve problems through a therapeutic process is really exciting. I just really want to add that I'm so grateful to be honored and grateful for all of the women you know, that have really pioneered and led and made advancements that open doors for all of us, including myself.
Good morning, I'm Juliet Lippman. I'm a family lawyer at Birnbaum, Lippman & Gregoire, a female-run firm. Very proud of that. I have the honor of introducing my friend, Ginger Lerner Wren, who I've known since working with her in my first real lawyer job 25 years ago. We were both 12. Judge Ginger Lerner Wren pioneered the first problem-solving mental health court in the entire United States. This court is dedicated to the decriminalization and community-based treatment of persons who are arrested with mental illness and co-occurring disorders. Because of this court and because of her work, more than 21,000 people have been diverted out of Broward's jails. Broward's mental health court is a national and global model, including for the America's Law Enforcement and Mental Health Project that was signed into law by President Bill Clinton in November 2000. She was also showcased at the White House at the Conference on Mental Health. By then, in 2002, President George Bush appointed Judge Ginger Lerner Wren to serve on the President's New Freedom Commission on Mental Health. She chaired the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. In 2013, she was selected top finalist for the Innovating Justice Award at The Hague. and received the National Council of Advocacy and Excellence Award in 2015. You're so deserving of this honor. You're the fiercest advocate I know for people who cannot defend themselves. You remind us to always defend the most vulnerable. And I have seen you do this time and time again, including when we needed police escorts. You've pushed through some incredible barriers. Marsha would be so proud of you. Please join me. Great honor to present you with the award.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. And this is, quite frankly, really overwhelming for so many reasons. You know, it was, I actually have this scrapbook because I saved everything, Juliet. I mean, you know, it was always so exciting, right, I still have our Gary Steinsmith article. Do you remember that, Laura, when you called me like at 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 in the morning, and said, get up. We have an advocate in the jail, right? Anyway, so it was almost 22 years ago, right here in this room, where 9 of us had our investiture. And at that point, Judge Marsha Beach was not a judge. She was the executive director of the Advocacy Center for Persons with Disabilities, as Juliet said, and she had left Broward County, moved to Tallahassee, and took over this extraordinary protection and advocacy system, which was a watchdog for people with disabilities across the entire state. You know, she was like a General Patton. She had like 3, 4, 5 federal class actions going across the state at exactly the same time. It was absolutely unheard of. And at my investiture, Marsha introduced me. And, you know, it was Marsha's wish. They really invested so much training in me at the time to oversee this federal class action, and they were really hoping, and it was Marsha's wish, and she said it to the audience, the huge audience at the time. She said, you know, I really believe that Ginger coming on to the judgeship could make a difference for people with mental illnesses. And little did she know, and little did I know, that within 6 months I was going to get the call from Chief Judge Dale Ross, basically saying, congratulations, Ginger, you're our new mental health court judge, and when do you want to start? And I honestly say, I didn't believe him. I thought he was going to change his mind, you know, and I said, if you could just give me 10 days, 10 days. And sitting next to Diane Weaver and thinking about Aaron Wynn, the high-profile case of Aaron Wynn, who was really the unlikely savior, the catalyst for Broward's mental health court. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you to the Broward Bar Association. Thank you to everybody who had worked so hard for this gorgeous event. I'll never forget it. And I also wanted to introduce my husband. He's somewhere in the room. There he is. Bent Nielsen. One of my big perks of doing the mental health court was being flown over to Dublin, Ireland to do a keynote address for the National Disability Authority of Ireland, and that's where I met my husband. And they had flown him over from Sydney, Australia. He was in charge of jail diversion for all of New South Wales, and I picked him up in Dublin, I did. And you can't beat that, Laura. You can't beat that, Laura. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you very much, and this is for Marsha. Thank you.
That's true. She was gone, supposed to be gone for a week, and then I think she stayed 2 weeks extra. And Bev, Jamie, and I said, has she gone crazy? Is the guy crazy? And he was wonderful. The next is one of my favorite categories, for-profit women who've been successful. And we're going to recognize the first woman managing partner and shareholder at English, McConnell, and O'Brien. And for some of us who've lived here a long time, you can't imagine how difficult that must have been. She was the first woman to serve on Gunster's board of directors. And so, to honor Linda Conahan, her award is going to be presented by Hugh William Bill Perry, a managing partner and shareholder at Gunster. But first, we're going to watch a video. Thank you.
I had run into some kids at University of Florida when I was an undergrad who were in law school. My roommates were dating some boys, and they would come over with their law books and they would discuss the cases and they would talk about all the exciting things they were learning in law school. And I thought, wow, I'd love to do this. And I also thought it was a way to help people. I'd thought about medical school, but I fainted at the sight of blood, so that didn't work out too well. Well, I have to say, you will note the lovely salmon pink colored suit. It was very difficult in the early years for women to find professional looking suit type clothing. When I first came out too, women were hired as real estate lawyers. They were hired for family law or for PWS, but they weren't hired as litigators. The group of men at English, McConnell, and O'Brien, where I first had a job, who were so honorable and they had so much integrity that they took me in, they gave me a chance, they were open-minded. Bob Ware, who was my mentor at that firm for many, many years, my first day I showed up on the job, he just said, grab your bag, we're going to a deposition, and I was off and running. Some of the women in the early days, they were the bra burners, and they were always out there being, you know, advocates and kind of negative about everything, and I wanted to be a part of the establishment that was there, and I fought my way to be that. I feel very fortunate. I'm really lucky. I've worked at only 2 firms in all the time that I've been practicing, which is over 40 years now. And I feel so blessed to have been in firms where people made it feel like we were a family. Integrity is everything. And you hang on to that and you just keep doing the best you can do and keep working at it, and people will eventually recognize it. And that's how I tried to live my life.
Thank you. I'm Bill Perry. My father was Hugh, and I've never really used the name other to sign checks. But I'm the managing partner of the Gunster Law Firm, and Linda and I have been colleagues for my 33 years of practice, and really was pleased that and honored that she would choose me to introduce her today. I want to thank Broward County Bar, the Broward County Women's Lawyers, and the 17th Judicial Circuit. This is a wonderful thing you're doing. I'm enjoying the stories immensely. I've laughed, I've cried, and I'm really looking forward to the remainder of the program. I want to talk, though, to the younger lawyers in the room, and we have a large Gunster contingent over here of our young lawyers, and really kind of set the stage for the pathway you're going to face moving forward and how the trailblazers, I think, have made it easier for you. So Linda graduated from law school in 1977 from the great University of Florida. Can I get a Go Gators out here, please? Thank you. Just U.S. News is about to come out, top secret. They jumped 10 spots, number 31 in the country, so we're on the move. When she came into the Florida bar, though, there were 24,500 lawyers in Florida and only 1,300 women, less than 5% of the bar membership in Florida. At that time, no woman had ever been a Florida bar president. So talk about trailblazing. Here in Broward County, you had about 1,800 lawyers, and there were less than 100 women lawyers when she came into the legal practice. Took another 15 years, and then we finally had a woman bar president in 1993, but there were only 2 women bar presidents last century. This century, there have already been 4, including our current president, Michelle Suskauer. Today, now, we have 39% of our bar are women. As of March 1st, there are 92,000 lawyers, and 39% of those are women. 51% or more of the graduates of our great state law schools where I recruit, University of Florida, Florida State, Miami, are women. Matter of fact, in the top 10, the girls are kicking the boys' ass. No doubt about it. So we routinely hire 50% women, not because we're trying to, just we want the most talented lawyers we can find. Last year's summer associates who are starting this fall, we have the #1 graduate from FSU, happens to be a man, and the #1 graduate from UF happens to be a woman. And it just turns out that way. So big law firms like ours, and we would be an AmLaw 200 firm, we've had to adapt to this new reality. So our leadership in our firm, our practice group leaders are 40% women, our partners are 40% women, our associates are 50% women, and that's the wave of the future. It's just the reality we've adopted to. And you know what? It's a nice thing because it's the right thing to do. So I was having breakfast this morning, and my wife pushed a cup of coffee my way, and she put it in her mug instead of my mug. It's a little odd. I looked at her mug as her RBG mug that had a quote I didn't see in your stream. It's women belong in all places where decisions are made. And I think that's so true. I think that's so true. And that's the real benefit Gunster has received from Linda's service to our firm is her decision making. As it mentioned in her bio, she was the first member of our Women Board of Directors. But she came into that position with a lot of prior knowledge. She had already managed another firm. She'd broken into the legal profession and run large practice groups, and she still does that with our firm. And then most importantly, kind of in the last few years, we've started some initiatives to help our young lawyers. We have mentoring programs that are focused on all of our young lawyers, but specific programming for women, particularly our Women's Leadership Forum. And I think about some of the speaking and the events we've put on. It's very much like this. If you shine a light on something, you're really going to make a lot of progress. So I congratulate you on what you're doing, and I congratulate you, Linda, on this reward. So I want to thank you for everything you've done for me as managing partner and helping me make better decisions. I want to thank you what you've done for Gunster and the young lawyers and paving the way for them. And I want to thank you on behalf of all of us here on the 17th Judicial Circuit, Broward County Bar, and the women's lawyers of Broward County in presenting you this award today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When I entered law school in 1975, I was a bit naive. I had never been in a courtroom. I had never even been in a law office. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I was bombarded by hippies, free love, birth control, the civil rights movement, anti-Vietnam, and anti-establishment. I also grew up with Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan, the irreverent and some would say radical National Organization of Women. I was influenced by bra burners and flag burners. It was a time of great change. All of these things made me believe I could do what I wanted to do. When I started interviewing for my first job, some firms flat out would not even talk to a woman. I interviewed with a prominent lawyer in Miami who later became a federal judge in the Southern District, who said, "We just don't have anything for a girl attorney." But I was lucky to join English, McConn & O'Brien, an incredible group of men, but I had to teach them a lot. And they were outstanding pupils, I have to say that. I graciously accepted the traditional Miss EMO, a framed nude pinup girl, and hung her on the wall of my office as the newest associate was expected to do. They all got a really big laugh out of that. However, when it came my turn to present this symbol to the next new associate, who happened to be a male, I framed a photo of a handsome young nude man from Playgirl magazine. The pinup tradition quickly died. But we all have dozens of stories, many of which you've heard this morning, but you wouldn't believe how we could go on, and you'll hear some really good ones coming up, I'm sure. I worked 10 years in a world where there was no maternity leave policy. until I gave in to my biological clock and I had a baby regardless of the consequences. Today, Gunster has actually hired women attorneys who were pregnant at the time. So, I'm grateful for all those women who came before me, for the women who fought for the right to vote, and who fought to pass laws that outlaw gender discrimination. Thankfully, young women today cannot even imagine a world where women were literally second-class citizens, expected to devote their entire lives to homemaking. We've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go. People ask, how did Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose get away with it? Well, many women are still scared today. Scared of not being believed, scared of having their careers derailed, scared that they not have the power to fight back, and all too often they're correct. Every single day you can go online and read another story about gender bias making the headlines. But I'm still hopeful. Progress has been made and it will continue. And I humbly accept this recognition today on behalf of the mere 684 women who had been admitted to practice in the state of Florida at the time I entered law school. To all the beautiful and brilliant women who are following in our footsteps, I say, leave your mark on the world. What you do does matter. Don't be afraid. Make the tough choices for yourselves and for all of our daughters and sons. I just want to thank the Bar Association and the Women's Bar Association, the 7th Judicial Circuit, for doing this program and for recognizing me and my small contribution. And thank you, Bill. To have you here today, it means the world to me and to all the women at Gunster. And thank you to everyone for coming and for helping us to celebrate. And last but definitely not least, I want to thank my husband, Mac. Thank you for supporting me on every step of this journey, for changing diapers and cooking dinner and always believing in me. I love you.